Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Carol Isman, Chair of the Dover Planning Board, and this is our meeting of April 14th. It's being conducted by Zoom in accordance with approval from the governor back in 2023. It's also being done as a webinar, and the link is on the agenda that's on the Dover webpage calendar. I do ask that if you have any comments to make during the meeting, that you use the raise hand and we will recognize you. We're starting the meeting off with the opportunity for citizens who might be here tonight who want to make a comment unrelated to an item that's on the agenda. Are there any folks on that fall under that category? I don't see anything. Anybody? Jasmine, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay, in that case, we're going to jump right to the substantive part of the meeting. We're going to switch the agenda around a little bit and start with our public hearings first, since they were.
Okay. Carol, excuse me for interrupting. I think I see Bill Motley in the attendee list.
Oh, okay. There I am. He should be on in a second.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sorry to interrupt, Carol.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Carol, it's Bill. I'm sorry.
Bill, no problem. Apologize for the delay in getting you in.
Thank you, Jody.
You bet.
Okay, so we're going to change the agenda around a little bit, start with the public hearing as that was advertised in the paper for 7 o'clock. We have 5 tonight. A legal requirement is that when you are doing a amendment or a new bylaw that is a zoning bylaw, you need to have a public hearing before the town meeting. So we have 5. I'm going to open each one individually. So the first one on the agenda is the floodplain bylaw, which is Article 19 at town meeting. And I will read the notice as is required. I will then open up the public hearing. And during the public hearing, we can take comments from any attendees of the meeting tonight. I will then close the public hearing. The planning board will then discuss, and if there are no objections or changes to the required bylaws, then we will take a vote. And that's the process we'll use for all of them. So the first one is modification to the floodplain district, section 185-44 of the zoning bylaws. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by updating section 185-44 floodplain district in order to comply with National Flood Insurance Program requirements to update Dover's local regulations zoning to include the new effective dates for the firm and FIS, or take any action relative thereto. So with that, Jasmine, would you pull up the presentation on that? Okay, so thank you. We've seen these slides before. This is an update to the maps. Back in 2022, there was a major bylaw update which we passed. The maps have been a long time coming from FEMA. We have to accept those maps and integrate them in by date into our bylaw so that those residents of Dover whose properties are in the floodplain are authorized to take advantage of the insurance program that's offered. So this is a very important but relatively administrative change to it. The new maps are going to be dated July 8th, 2025. There are no substantive changes to Norfolk County from the maps that we've been using all along. So next slide, please. So we're going to Jasmine, next slide.
It's just being slow, sorry.
Oh, so, okay. Well, as we go through it, so we're going to update all the map references that are in the current bylaw to the 2025 July 8th maps. And we're going to change anything that says 2021, 22, 23, or 24 to 2025. And we will then have a bylaw that meets both the state and federal requirements for an insurance program. Do we have any? Next slide. As a bylaw change, this requires a 2/3 majority, which should be no problem. Do we have any comments from any residents or anybody attending tonight? In that case, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Oh,
There's something in the chat.
somebody's hand was just raised and it just went away.
Sorry, that was me. I pushed it by accident.
Oh,
Apologies.
sorry.
So seeing that there are no comments from the public, I'm going to close the public hearing. Are there any questions from planning board members? Okay, in the package of material you received the red line version and final version of the bylaw, which I hope you've all had a chance to look at. So I will now take a vote for planning board approval of the bylaw changes and of warrant article number 19. I'm going to take a roll call vote, which I should have done in the beginning as well. So this will serve as a roll call vote for both the meeting and our first warrant article public hearing.
Carol,
Jody?
I'm so sorry. Somebody's raised their hand. Brooks, Lobquitz.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh my gosh. I've been, this is Margaret Lobkowitz. My mother Brooks is with me.
Okay.
We're at 280 Dedham Street, across the street from the proposal for a barn and a parking lot.
Okay, so we are not at that point on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're going through a public hearing first, which changed the agenda around a little bit. but-
That's fine. I'm gonna be quiet until you get, I'm gonna lower my hand.
Okay, shouldn't be too long, Brooks. Thanks. We'll make sure to get to you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Jody,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Katie,
Oh, I get a vote, yes.
and
I wasn't
Bill-
ready.
Bill Motley.
Yes.
Okay, and Carol has been yes. Okay. We're now going to go to the next public hearing. So I open up the public hearing on Article 20, which is a modification to various administrative edits, and I will read the notice to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by updating various sections of chapter 185 zoning bylaws, including 185-17, schedule of dimensional requirements, to add an asterisk in the schedule dimensional requirements table that will draw attention to section 116-3 stormwater bylaw, which is actually groundwater protection district, an asterisk that will draw attention to section 116-3, and a footnote to highlight section 185-25. Accessory structures require half the setback as well as take other action relative thereto. So do we do, Article 20. Next slide, please. These were some administrative changes, nothing substantive, that the building department asked that we do this town meeting. Basically, the first two are just to make some clarifications on the schedule dimensional requirements to clarify some things for the applicant. You've seen the red lines for those. And we're also adding definitions for small family daycare and large family daycare that tie to the state building code definitions that are in chapter 40A, and which were not in our definitions. And by the way, we have 4 large family daycares in Dover, which is defined as more than 10 children. Any public comments on this one? In that case, I'm going to close the public hearing and we'll take a vote, which again will be a 2/3 vote. So we will go through the roll call again. Jody,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bill. Well, Bill. Okay, and I guess he has signed off. And Carol, yes. Okay, so that passes as well. Thank you all. We will now go to the next one, which is Article 21, accessory dwelling units. And I will read the notice for that one. Modification to accessory dwelling units, section 185-43 of the zoning bylaws.
Yes.
Thank you, Bill. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by updating section
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Bill? Okay, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by updating section 185-43 accessory dwelling units to comply with the Affordable Homes Act signed into law by the governor on August 6, 2024, and the final version of 760 CMR 71.00 by removing requirements for special permits / discretionary approval for detached ADUs, removing owner-occupied restrictions, removing unenforceable design guidelines, and updating schedule of use regulations to reflect this change or take any other action relative thereto. Okay, next slide. So just to refresh everybody's memory, we passed a major bylaw amendment to the accessory dwelling units back in 2023 town meeting, but it's a residential living unit that is subordinate to the principal residence. It's self-contained, it has a separate entrance, and it can be attached or detached from the primary residence. Just some photos to remind everybody of what they might look like. Next slide. There we go, next slide. So Dover has a, no, back one, there we go. Dover has a long history of dealing with ADUs. Since we approved the bylaw amendment in 2023, we've had 7 ADUs permitted in Dover. In 2024, the Affordable Homes Act was approved by the state legislature, effective on February 2nd, 2025. So a couple of the ADUs that we've actually approved since February fall under the new Affordable Homes Act, even though our bylaw had not officially changed. So what we're doing now is taking the Dover bylaw and making it consistent with the state bylaw, so that there's no confusion by residents as to which rules and regulations they need to follow if they're going to do an ADU. So the main points are that our bylaw had required that for a detached ADU, it go through the special permit process through the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's no longer allowed according to the Affordable Homes Act, so we have to take that out. It means that attached and detached ADUs are all by right and will be treated the same way, which is through a planning board site plan review and no special permits. The Affordable Homes Act also prohibited requiring owner occupancy of either the main dwelling or the ADU, which our current bylaw does. So we're removing that clause. And we also had a clause in there about architectural design guidelines. Those two are to be removed, and we will just be applying a normal site plan review. Next slide. So as I said, we are removing the special permit requirement for detached ADUs. We are removing the owner occupied restrictions. We're removing the ADU architectural specific guidelines. And we're updating the schedule of use to make it clear that both attached and detached ADUs just require a special permit. Next slide. So this only, even though it's a zoning bylaw, this only requires a 50% approval because of the legislation that was passed in 2023 and the Affordable Homes Act that passed in 2024. So do we have any public comments on this one? In that case, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we have any comments by planning board members? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. Jody,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bill, and Carol, yes. Okay. The next one is Article 22, which is modification to the site plan review. And allow me to read that. Public notice. Modification to site plan review. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw by updating section 185-36 site plan review to extend the timeline to issue a decision under site plan review from 30 to 60 days due to the level of detail required.
Yes.
And the schedule of meetings of the planning board, or take any other action thereto. So next slide on that. We've discussed this. Our current site plan review bylaw requires that we make a decision within 30 days of receipt of a complete application. And if we don't meet the 30-day deadline, and if the applicant does not agree to an extension, then the application is automatically approved. What we're finding on some of the reviews is that they're a bit more complicated. And given our planning board schedule, sometimes it's difficult to get that done within the 30 days. It will also allow time for due diligence by the planning board and for earlier notification of abutters, so their input can be more effectively concerted. And we know from past reactions of abutters that they've often received a notification maybe 1 or 2 mailing days before our actual meeting. So this is next slide. This is a requirement, again, of, next slide, a 2/3 vote being a zoning bylaw. Do we have any comments from anybody attending tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and any comments by planning board members? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Jody,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bill? I know okay, and Carol. Okay, so that passes. Article 23 is the easements, and Jasmine, I just want to confirm that since it's not a zoning bylaw, we do not have to do a public hearing.
That's correct.
Okay, so even though there had been a notice of a public hearing on that, we don't have to legally do one. I will ask if there's anybody attending tonight who has a question about this article. Okay, seeing none, we are done.
Yes.
I don't know, Bill, maybe you're in Jupiter or something. It's taking a while to get your yes. We are done with the public hearing part of this meeting. Thank you all for your votes. And we will be sending this presentation over to the powers that be for inclusion in the presentations that we'll be giving at town meeting. So thank you for all that. We will now go to agenda item 2A, which is the 283 Dedham Street site plan review. So who do we have here tonight?
Nick Courtney, I just promoted them to a panelist. So it'll take them just a moment to come on as a panelist.
Okay,
Hi. Hello.
hello.
Hi, how you
Okay,
doing?
yes, I see you, Nick. Okay, thank you for coming.
No
Is-
problem, thank you.
Is Paul there also? Paul Signorella?
I believe he's not with me, but he should be on the meeting.
Yep, I see him as well.
Okay,
Yes, sorry, I'm here. It took me a while to find the unmute on Zoom.
Know the feeling, no problem. Okay, and then we have Brooks and Margaret Lepkowitz, who live what is your address, Brooks? we'll get to Brooks when she chooses to comment then. Okay, so, I'm going to turn this over to Jasmine
Can
for
you-
quick.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Brooks,
Okay, we
good.
were muted.
We were-
It said
sorry.
The host had
it's
muted.
okay. What's your address, Brooks?
It's 280.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with, as I was saying, we're going to turn this over for a quick introduction by our town planner, and then we'll hear a presentation by the applicant's representatives. So Jasmine?
Excellent, thank you. Let me just pull up the plans so you can see what we're looking at here. So this property, they propose to raise the existing dwellings and outbuildings on the lot and construct a new single-family dwelling and barn with improved driveway and parking area. They're also going to be including a new septic system, site drainage improvements, and a new well, along with updated utilities. So the barn is the accessory structure that's going through the site plan review. And that we just received some images on those this morning, so that I hope you had a chance to review those, but I can pull those up if you'd like to look at them, or if you'd like to have the applicants go through the application now. I'm not sure how you'd like to.
Yes, I would. So, Nick, are you the one that's going to go through and give us a review of the application, or is it Paul?
I was going to do the presentation.
Great.
Sure, you should have screen share capabilities.
Yep.
Thank you.
Share my screen now. Can everyone see that?
Here we go.
Yes.
All right, so for the record, my name is Nick Courtney with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I'm here on behalf of Archaea Homes, for proposed work at, 283 Dedham Street. We are seeking site plan review approval for the proposed accessory use barn on site. Seems like Jasmine covered a decent amount. But I'll just run through the existing conditions so people can get a little familiar with the site. This lot is located in the R2 zoning district, and it's existing residence. This is the existing residence right here. This is the existing bituminous concrete driveway, which gets access from Dedham Street. The driveway as is relatively steep towards the dwelling, with slopes somewhere around 18%. Right here we have the existing septic leach field, which treats the wastewater from the residents. There is bordering vegetated wetlands on the site to the east. That's this blue line here. That's the delineated wetland line. And there's also bordering vegetated wetlands towards the entrance of the driveway. This is the entrance here. And these blue lines again are bordering vegetated wetlands abutting the driveway. Now I'll run through the proposed conditions. So as Jasmine said, we're looking to raise and rebuild the existing single-family dwelling. This is where the location will be, so it will be, you know, relatively in the same spot as previously was. This is going to be the area where the proposed accessory use barn will be located. To my knowledge, this barn is not going to be used as an accessory dwelling unit or for any commercial purposes. It's more for a hobby or storage area for the residents on site. Due to the steep slopes of the site, there's going to be a retaining wall to the rear of the barn located right here. We are relocating and regrading the existing driveway, which will be along this area here. We wanted to reduce the slope of the driveway down. It was previously 18 at a max, and we were looking to change it to 10 or 11% to make it a safer access. For the barn, we're proposing a small parking area located here. Right now, it's proposed as bituminous concrete pavement with 10 parking spaces. But after some discussions with the applicant, we are going to look into changing the parking area from bituminous concrete to gravel. As Jasmine mentioned, this barn, we were looking to install a separate septic system just for the barn. But upon some discussion with the applicant, we're just going to do a septic tank and pump chamber up to the existing leach field, which will have to be reconstructed because of increased flows. For stormwater management, we're meeting the Massachusetts stormwater standards for this project. Right here, we have some subsurface infiltration chambers for roof recharge for the proposed dwelling. There is a proposed infiltration basin located right here, which will capture much of the proposed driveway runoff coming down this way and from the roof runoff for the barn as well. As pre-treatment, we're going to use a gravel diaphragm as well.
Nick, we don't have any purview over septic design and so forth, so
Okay.
I noticed that there seemed to be a good 150 to 200 pages worth of stormwater and that kind of stuff, which is not relevant to us. So we're focused on the barn itself.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Just to move it along.
So to be honest, I think Paul may be able to help a little bit more with the use for the barn. Paul?
Yes, hello. Paul Signorella, Archaea Homes. So could you explain to me as to what you are looking for an explanation from us? I'm sorry, this is my first time in Dover for plane review.
Okay, that's okay. So we're pretty specific in our bylaw, which is unfortunate, but let's see if we can get through this tonight regardless and follow it up. So our site plan review is focused on not building code issues, not stormwater issues, chapter 159, not the Board of Health issues involved with wells and septic systems. They're more subjective relative to noise and lighting and design aspects of the property relative to the neighborhood, natural resource issues in general, and any public safety issues that might come up. So,
Okay.
I will say that seeing the seeing this barn, which I think might be a misnomer, I would like to understand a little bit more what a 5,500 square foot barn is going to be used for, that has a full bathroom and kitchen and plenty of areas for bedrooms and 10 parking spots.
So I can try to elaborate on that. The client is reaching retirement age, and they are looking to pick up hobbies, and that's what the car bays are for. And he's looked into canoe building, car collections, things of that nature, and then just overall storage. So that is the general aspect of the structure. As for lighting, we were going to keep the lighting on the exterior of the building on the lower side with 1 or 2 goosenecks to light the parking lot, and then just small decorative lights on the left and right-hand side of each doorway. For the interior lighting, it's still under design, but nothing that would be overpowering or bleed out of the structure into the neighboring properties or even onto this property. Probably selective halos through the open areas, and then 1 or 2 LED lighting strips in the storage areas.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to all members of the planning board now for any questions and comments.
Okay.
Jody, is that you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about my questions. I'm gonna pause for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still sort of digesting this also.
Well-
Do we run into an accessory dwelling unit situation?
Well, we will be making it very clear in the decision that this is not to be an ADU.
Yeah,
Without, and then, of course, an ADU is only 900 square feet, and we have an accessory building that's probably larger than a good number of houses here in Dover, so we'll have to address that, but the conditions will say no ADU. As
Right.
well as my understanding is that there's a letter attached that I saw to Walter, our building inspector, which said that there will be no commercial use.
Yep.
So that too will be a condition of ours as well as Walter's.
I have a couple questions, Carol.
Carol?
Is that you, Brooks?
No, yes, I can
Okay.
see you and I can speak.
Let me just hold off for just a moment and let me get the planning board members first
Okay,
and make sure that we get your comments, not to worry.
okay.
Okay, Val.
So help me understand why there's 2 kitchens in the building?
That's a designing flaw. There's really an intention of one. We're just still in the middle of design review right now with our client. So we're kind of trying to figure out the final details of the overall architectural design.
And and I apologize that I don't recall this, but is it a full bathroom with a shower?
There is no shower, no ma'am.
Okay. And how many kitchens are in the main dwelling?
2.
And is there a proposed ADU in the main dwelling?
There is not. There's no separation between the 2 units. It's going to be a guest wing for a caretaker and the client's son.
With its own kitchen?
Yes.
And are there going to be any other accessory dwellings? So is there a shed? Is there a pool or a cabana?
No, ma'am. There's an existing barn on the top right, just at the top of Nick's screen there.
Mhm.
And that's an existing structure, but other than that, there will be no pool, no cabana. No, ma'am.
Okay. And then how did you calculate and determine the number of exterior parking spaces that you needed?
That was kind of just put in as a place saver. I actually believe in our newer revised plan as we reviewed with the client. They actually don't like the look that it's with the retention bay at the very bottom of the map for water retention. They didn't like the commercial look of it, and they want to capture more of the natural earthy views and the ledge stone sticking out and put in plantings and whatnot. So we're actually trying to eliminate that and supplement it in another location and bring the grade down. And that's what Nick was touching on earlier, because we're trying to not alter the landscaping as much as possible while capturing what our client is looking for storage needs.
Okay, and so, and I think if I understood it correctly, you originally had 2 septic systems, but you have reduced it now to 1 septic system.
Correct. So with the proposed plan as you see it, the reason that the lot is standing at the elevation it is now, which I believe is I'm sorry, I'm trying to read it on my screen.
Well,
Slab.
it's a Board of Health issue anyway.
Yes, but to get the septic system out of there and lower the slab height, we needed to change to a pump chamber because of water table.
And how many bedrooms is that septic system going to handle?
The existing septic system is rated for 5 and the new dwelling has 5. But due to the increased rate from the lower lot, we are going to have to increase the D-box and the leaching field to suffice.
Okay.
Has this
And
gone
he-
before the Board of Health?
Yep. And oh, sorry.
It has gone through prelim through Board of Health, but not final review because we had to go to the planning board first and because of the size of the land disturbance DEP. So Merrill had suggested that we go through the meeting with you first and then go through our final submittal pending this site plan review.
Can I just ask Jasmine a question on process? I'm trying to remember a time when we did site plan review on documents that were not like that were in the midst of flux. Like, for example, the parking or it sounds like some of these elements in the materials we're provided with today are not necessarily even what will be built. Is that, maybe I'm misunderstanding?
Right, but the barn is what's the only thing that's under review under this site plan review is the barn. So if
Right.
the barn doesn't change, it doesn't matter if the parking changes or the landscaping changes. If the barn and the design of that remains the same, the site plan review will stand as is because the site plan is only for the barn.
Okay, I guess that gets to that issue of parking. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've talked about parking and, this is
Yeah. I mean, and
ongoing.
this is an interesting one. You know, this is that very
Mhm.
long driveway. They had come to the planning board previously several years ago. I think they wanted to change the driveway to make it more saleable or something. I didn't get a chance to look into it, but none of this is going to be visible from the street. And as far as I understand, unless so Nick or Paul, is it your understanding that the significant amount of treed area between Dedham Street and the beginning of this construction area will remain as is?
Yes, ma'am. So we've already conducted and gone through a review for the tree removal. Those trees have since been removed, I believe, 6+ months ago. And the remaining trees from the driveway up to the construction area will all remain. And we have been told by the town engineer, Mr. Angieri, that he expects nothing else to be altered outside of the scope of work outlined in the drawing.
Okay. And you did say the main house has 5 bedrooms and that's what it's being designed for, plus some flow from the barn.
Correct.
But the barn has not been designated by anybody in Dover departments as a possible bedroom. Is that correct?
Correct. There are no bedrooms on the premises as long as no complete sanitary areas per your bylaws.
Yep.
Well, I just had a couple more questions. On the bottom, the property, I don't know if it's to the south of this. It looks like there's a lot of wetlands. And you had talked about some canoe making and maybe some woodworking and things. I'm assuming that there's going to be some chemicals used in whatnot. I'm just kind of curious if you could talk through just a little bit about how this drains and how you're preventing it from draining onto the property south, because it looks like you're pretty close to the that property border or the boundary.
No, there would be no commercial use or lacquers or anything, more like cabinet making, things of that nature. So the
Okay.
only off product would be sawdust, which would be disposed of properly.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Val, to your point, the Conservation Commission has a public hearing on this application on the 23rd of April.
Okay, perfect.
But along those lines and thinking about the responses we get to accessory buildings that are used for car collections, which I think Paul mentioned as a possibility.
Yes, it's not really set in stone yet. It's just as of right now, per our clients and everything they've given us, it's just a space that's to be determined. But they have ensured us that there is no commercial intended use or living area, as they have supplemental living area on the upper lot.
And I appreciate that, but you should note, and I think we may have to put something into the decision, that there have been issues in Dover with other car collectors, non-commercial, and the concerns of the result of having 6, 7, 8 cars in one area with possible oil changes and oil leaks and so forth, and just puttering around with cars and that type of thing. So we will, when we get to the conditions in a moment, we may have to put something in about requiring some additional review by other departments should a decision be made to use that space for car collecting.
I'm sorry, if I could just put that in, I was not speaking on behalf of the client on that. I was just spitballing some generalized hobbies for people that have this size of structure. They haven't said any intended use outside of cabinet making and light woodworking.
Okay. Okay. Should you be doing business in Dover again, it will be helpful to be a little bit more definitive in the application going before a planning board. You've got 5,500 square feet on the bottom and some thousands of square feet on the second floor. There are great rooms, there are offices. That's an awful lot of cabinetry work. So
Yes, ma'am, understood.
any other questions and comments from the planning board? Well, to me, this gets into this whole issue of the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, the site, these plans are amazing. The amount of space, not only in the barn, but in the house and so forth, it's going to require an awful lot of work by every single department and staff member in Dover. It appears that the planning board is going first on this. We are limited, as Jasmine said, to the barn itself. And I look forward to an online permitting system where we can share comments
As are we.
on something like this, I'm sure. But when you look at, so given all this, why don't we have Jasmine walk us through her draft decision? And knowing what we now know and knowing what we now don't know, see what it is that we might want to change, if anything, in the draft decision.
Carol, did you want to take Brooks's comments first
Yes.
before?
Thank you. My promise. Yes, Brooks.
Yes, mine is purely, I'm afraid, a rather selfish one because I live directly across the street from this very extensive proposal. And my first concern was because I'm not really up to date and informed on all the laws and rules of the town, but I love this town and I've lived here for a long time, so I'm very protective. And the reason I'm asking these questions is when I pull out of my driveway, I would like to know how many feet from Dedham Street will this large barn be built, roughly?
N-
Nick?
Nick, could you take us on that one, please?
Yeah, I don't have an exact number, but I can give an estimate right now.
All right,
This is a long driveway, as you can see. So this is Dedham Street here,
yep,
and this is one of our bearings to the
Yep.
lot line,
yep,
which is just a straight line across. This reads almost 1,100 feet before you get to this corner here.
okay.
So that's almost a quarter mile.
Now, so that's a considerable elevation.
Yeah.
And so this building would not be visible from Dedham Street
No, ma'am.
until it lights up at night,
We don't know that.
perhaps.
And the wetlands would be your other.
Yeah, and that was just something I'm throwing at. The other question is, since my property, which is at 280 Dedham, and Bill Bergen's property, which is just adjacent,
270.
which is even lower, and that's 270, is down to the river, we are sort of in the floodplain of any throw off of excess from the plateau where there's this large structure. And I'm sure that all of this has been investigated because we have a very active conservation board here and everything. But that was just a consideration because we are dependent, of course, on well water. And we have quite an extensive septic system ourselves. And what was and
The
this will
wetlands.
have no commercial or will not grow into some sort of a commercial site, in your opinion?
And from what I've heard from our clients, there is no intended use of commercial or ADU use, and we have done everything in our power within the confines of the setbacks to alleviate any potential runoff from stormwater, rainwater, etc. Anywhere where we're disturbing the land, Merrill has done everything in their power to make sure that it's run into the culverts and naturally dispersed back into the environment.
And it satisfied all the wetland requirements?
We are pre-Concom, which is the Conservation Commission, but we
Yes.
are under full review of them, and if they see anything out of key per se, they will bring it up to us on a red line review and we will address it accordingly.
And one other thing is a parking space for 10 cars. Just the surface itself is, sort of a defeat for any wetlands progress. The runoffs and everything are always a consideration. And the large house is another large structure going to be built adjacent to the barn.
Are you referring to the existing house up on
There's
the,
an existing house. Is there going to be there's no
The barn.
addition to the existing house. It's just the barn we're considering.
correct, in this plan review, we are just considering the barn.
So
But
ju-
as
Okay, well then I think that answers my questions, Carol. Thank you
Okay,
for letting me speak.
Thank you, Brooks, for your comments, and I'm going to address them almost in a minute. But just to clarify, it's my understanding that the current main home will be raised and an entirely new home will be built.
correct, we have actually,
Brooks, the planning board does not have site plan review authority over a single family primary residence.
Yep,
So we can't address anything to do with the new primary house that's on this plan. We can only address
the barn.
the barn.
Yep, thank you, Carol. Yeah.
Can I ask one other question? Jasmine, I know that Carol had asked for a lighting plan on this barn structure. Did you ever receive one?
No, I received renderings that were sent to you, but they're digital renderings and they don't actually show the gooseneck lighting that's proposed.
Okay, so normally in our site plan review process, don't we get a lighting plan as part of the packet?
Typically as part of the architectural rendering, yes.
Okay, so what do we do with the fact that it doesn't exist?
I mean, Are you concerned that the lighting from this barn will spill onto other properties at this time?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I am.
Then you could put in a clause that says if the lighting is found to be offensive or obtrusive to abutters, or not comply with the lighting as described at the meeting as downcast on the site, it will have to be amended to meet
Okay.
the
I would s-
criteria.
Okay, thank you. I would just say that, you know, to me, that's part of our site plan review, lighting. And to have a packet that doesn't include it makes us kind of having to decide blind to some extent and to make a determination as a board without all the information for historical purposes that we would otherwise want. So that's, to me, problematic. Personally.
No, I talk.
Yeah, I would second Jody's point.
And I will third it. So, Paul and Nick, I know that you were directed to the planning board, but as I think we've said several times tonight already, these plans for us are very preliminary. And I would just like to take an informal check with planning board members on whether they feel comfortable making any vote tonight on this.
I do not.
Okay, so we have a consensus that we just don't have enough information. And our site plan review bylaw is pretty clear on what is supposed to be submitted as an application. So I urge you to take a look at that and supplement this application with a better narrative that goes into more detail about describing the barn, the size of the barn, the different rooms of the barn, a little bit more clarity on how it's going to be used. And ultimately, the decision, which we cannot deny, but we can add conditions to it, we'll have to make things very clear that this kind of space is just ripe for, and this has nothing to do with the integrity of your clients, but this kind of space is just ripe for a different type of use over time, which could be an issue. So, making clear that it's not for commercial use, making it clear that if it becomes a garage for a significant number of cars, that there are other considerations that need to be taken into account by the town engineer and the Board of Health. And to reemphasize in writing that this is not going to be ever used as an ADU. Now, just for clarification points, should it ever turn into a commercial property, then the owner would have to go to the town for a commercial approval. So again, there are all kinds of issues with this. So Paul, do you, maybe the best thing for you to do is to think about what's being said tonight, to talk to our town planner over the next couple of days. We do have a meeting on April 28th. And if you get us the additional material a week before that, we could probably take a look at this again on April 28th.
Understood.
Anybody? Yeah, Bill?
Carol, yes, and I just wanted to go back to the question on the parking. It didn't seem in listening to Paul that there was a specific reason why they had identified up to 10 parking spaces for this building. And that, to a point that you raised earlier, is just concerning to me personally. And so in your review with the owners, I think that I would ask is there the need for 10? I would certainly feel better if there was less parking being made accommodated for on this by this garage.
Okay, I
So-
can certainly bring that up to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just one more point, Carol. We actually cannot say that they can never put an ADU here. We can only restrict that if they ever do wish to put an ADU here, they have to come back for the appropriate site plan review and meet all of the requirements of 185-43, I think it is. So we can't say no indefinitely, but we can say you have to do it through the correct avenues.
Course. And should they design a septic system for this huge built house and barn that's limited to only the 5 that they currently have in the main house, and should they choose to do an ADU in the barn, then they will have a septic system issue as well.
Correct.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Brooks and Margaret, for attending tonight. And Brooks, if you could call the planning board office and leave an email address for you, then we will keep you informed about when this application is reviewed again. You're on mute. So I hope you've heard this. Otherwise, we'll send you a notice as well if we have time. Okay, with that,
Yes, okay, now we've got you.
okay, thanks, Brooks. Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nick. And I guess we'll see you again.
Yes, ma'am. We will see you on the 28th.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay, next agenda item is approve the minutes of March 3rd, included in your packet. Any edits or changes?
None for me, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, let's take a vote on the minutes. Roll call. Jody?
What do you want me to vote? Are you saying no changes to the minutes? That's what we're voting on?
Approve the minutes.
Oh, yeah, sure, yes.
Jody, George,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Carol, yes. Okay, thank you for the minutes. Jasmine, any updates?
No updates, as far as anything going forward with town meeting or anything. I don't, obviously we have our second public information session for MBTA on April 22nd. So we please, remind everybody to encourage your neighbors and for them to encourage their friends and all of your friends to attend. It'll be very critical as we're discussing sites and hopefully submitting to EOHLC, before May 15th. So.
Okay, Jody, could you just go up maybe just slightly deeper into where we are with the EOHLC and why we have to submit and so forth?
Okay, so just some context. As you guys know, we have the 3 locations that we've put out to the town for surveying and getting preferences from residents. We are deeply in discussion with our town council on an important issue related to 2 of those locations, County Court and the Meadows, because both of those are 40B developments. And so we are securing a legal opinion from town council as to anything that would be in the existing legal documents for those developments that could potentially prevent MBTA housing, multifamily housing being built on those locations. We hope to have an answer on that by the end of this week, in time for our next info session. And what we're really trying to do is move towards a pre-review by the state. There's a process by which we can submit the draft of our bylaw, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the location that we are proposing to EOHLC, which is the oversight body, for their review. It's about a 90-day or less process, and we're aiming for the first week of May, roughly, right after town meeting, to get that submitted. Because if we do end up moving forward with county court after having received Nina's review, then we will still be in a somewhat interesting period while the state reviews that, because while there are other towns that have overlay districts on top of 40B development, I'm not sure that those towns are doing it as one district, the whole MBTA district, where there is 40B housing. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the state approaches that. And we're going to need potentially, but maybe not, we'll see, to have another plan in place. So we're really not scrambling, we're working hard is a better way of phrasing it, because we've known this was coming all along, to get this pre-review process moving. We're also at the same time working really hard on our bylaw draft. So you all have seen the version that's up on our MBTA page. We've done a lot of work on that in about the last 10 days, and we'll have a version to send to Nina, our town council, for her review, hopefully by the end of this week, and you all will see that as well. So process is moving forward nicely, but there's a lot of moving parts to it. So thank you in advance for your attention, especially in the short term, the next 2 weeks. And hopefully all of you can come on to our info session on the 22nd. Anything other than that, Carol?
I think the only thing I would add is that we recognize, based on some comments that were made on the March 25th info session, and of course what we've seen in the paper about other towns, that it's incredibly important for the town residents to understand the financial risk of us not being compliant. And certainly the slide deck that we've used and the way that Jody has talked about the millions and millions of dollars of grants that we've had just in the last 3 years alone, should indicate that. But because it's so key to the whole process of getting to yes, Robin Hunter, who's chair of the Board of Selectmen, has agreed on April 22nd to cover the financial risk to the town of not complying with the MBTA. So she'll take those 4 slides that Jody has created. She'll fine tune a few of them, and she will present what being able to access all the state grants that we have and plan to mean for the financial viability and taxes of us. And she will also make the point in her opening remarks at town meeting, when she's talking about the budget in general and the state of the town, about how important it is that we get to yes on an MBTA Communities Act zoning law in the fall at a special town meeting. So I think that will go a long way to dispel some of the cynicism, quite frankly, about whether this really is going to be impactful to Dover if we don't get these grants and don't pass the law.
I will say that our info session in March, and the ones we've had, COA, March, we went in front of some of the boards and staff in town recently, although it was pretty low turnout for that one. We've really gotten good questions. And even though it's sometimes hard to figure out how to answer them, they're really informative for us. And I think they have very much informed the slide presentation and some tweaks we're making to it for April 22nd. There's a lot of questions about exactly what would it mean if it's on county court, how would it work, da, da, da. And we're trying to find the right balance of having answers, but also reminding people that zoning is not approval to build. It is literally just establishment of zoning itself, but naturally people have a lot of follow-on questions. So it's a tricky balance. And I'm working hard, and Nina will be working with me to make sure we have our language right on that, because we do need to be very thoughtful about what sometimes I just want to say, but I have to be very careful with some of the language. So trying to find that balance.
I'd also note that we have taken a very hard look at Sherburne's bylaw, which they are actually bringing to town meeting at the end of April. So they're not waiting till the fall. And we know that that the bylaw that they're bringing to the town has been pre-approved by the state. So that has been very helpful to us, especially given our communities are similar when it comes to this type of bylaw. So we've found some good stuff in there. There's stuff that we're not going to be using, but we feel that the information that we have included in our bylaw has already gone through a vetting process with the state, which gives us a little bit more surety as well.
Right.
I did send the draft bylaw. We're not even numbering anymore. We're just doing it by date. We should do it by time too, given
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. By minute, yeah.
But I did send it over to Walter and Joe in the building department today.
Great.
So that with their eyes and their a different lens than we have, they
Great.
can take a look at it and see if we've missed anything or confused anything.
Yep.
So hopefully we'll hear back from them the next day or two as well.
And also just a reminder that we continue to work with our consultant, Jeff Davis, who you all have met, I believe, on Zoom. So, you know, lots of hands on deck on this one, and we're gonna get it done. It's gonna be, and Katie, thank you so much to Katie, because Katie sort of stepped up, giving us it's so awesome having a legal mind on our board, because it gives us sort of a pre-review. So that's been really helpful. And Katie was able to join us on a call with Nina last week and ask some really good questions that neither Carol or I would have thought about either. So thank you for that, Katie.
No worries. It's a very small contribution to.
No, it's awesome. Thank you.
I'm happy to
Major points, major points.
Major points, exactly. Small but mighty.
Well,
Yeah.
Jody, did you happen to say that other communities have already passed their MBTA bylaw that included 40B properties?
I believe the answer is yes, but most of the other communities that have already complied are larger than us, and they have multiple districts. So that means like we're doing one, overlay district because we have a smaller requirement and we don't want to do small contiguous pieces. But in bigger towns, there tend to be more districts of greater size. So I think, and don't hold me to this, that the towns where it's happened, it's like one of maybe like 4 or 5 different areas where there are overlays. And so the state has sort of, as I understand it, maybe looked at that and thought differently. So the question is, how will they look at a small adjacent town? We have gotten some opinion that, there's so many things going on with so many other bigger towns where there's like so much more fish to fry that they might be likely just to work with us and allow it. And then other opinion that might not actually be the case. So there doesn't seem to be much precedent for it. And that makes sense because we're the last group anyway.
Okay, great. Thank
So
you.
it's kind of like we're trying to figure it out as we go.
It's a lot.
It's fun. It's amazing though. We're learning a lot, I have to say. It's like crazy. Carol's going to be really sick of me when this is over. I'll tell you.
Never. But, I sort of, how when you build a house and you go, I'm never going to go through this again.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions about MBTA? Okay, so just a couple of things. First of all, I think you've all seen the email about Jasmine resigning effective May 15th. And we'll have a couple more opportunities to say thank you to Jasmine for everything she's done for us and for all the help. We have posted the job on the town website, on the MMA, the Mass Municipal Association website, on Indeed. I've spoken with Gino Carlucci and the Medfield town planner and the Sherburne town planner, and with Laura Harbottle to let them all know that the job is open. As of today, we had 4 applications that came in. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. They're coming into Robin Ticino, our HR director, but that's a good sign. And we'll see where it goes. So at least it's being worked, and at least we've seen some applications coming in, and they are different than the ones that we've received in the last 2 searches, which is also good to know. Now, remember that, gentlemen? So, so fingers crossed. Now, town election, 2 weeks after town meeting. So May 19th. There was a little glitch at the town caucus.
Oh my God. That was crazy.
I was in Spain. I wasn't there.
You were in Spain. We're like, don't even bother, Carol.
So there was a little glitch at town caucus that has resulted in a little glitch on the town ballot. So the intent had been that Val was going to run to fill the remaining 2 years. I'm sorry, Val was going to run to fill the 5-year term that George's, the position that George is giving up.
Oh.
Okay. Katie was going to fill the 2-year term that was left from Scott's 2 years. And then there was going to be somebody new who could run for the 2-year associate term. So Val was supposed to be on the town election for a planning board 5-year term. Katie was going to be on for a planning board 2-year, remaining 2 years. And then there was going to be the non-voting associate position. What ended up happening was that Val is on there for the 5-year term, so that's good. Katie is on for the associate term. She's already done that and moved on, but that's where she's okay. And then there's no one listed to fill the 2-year official voting member 2-year term.
It's really weird though, Carol, because I actually said we're putting Katie in for a voting term at the microphone.
Yeah, well, glitches.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when there's no official communication ahead of time saying
Yeah.
town election. So I'm going to write up a little blurb that tries to put a little bit more succinctly what I just explained. I'll send it out to all of you. I've already talked, Katie and I have already chatted. And what I would urge you all to do prior to town election is to send this blurb, or however you want to explain it, out to all your friends and neighbors and ask them to vote accordingly, which is Val, and then on for the 5-year, then on the 2-year planning board term, voting planning board official term that has no one listed.
Oh my God.
We write in Katie's name.
Oh my God.
And then it's best for us to vote for Katie also for associate member,
Okay.
just in case something happens with the full year term, or to make sure so that ideally Katie gets selected to the 2-year remaining term and becomes as a full voting member. She then resigns. She wins the associate position because she's the only one there. She then resigns from the associate position, and we go through the process that we've gone through before of going out to the community and trying to appoint somebody along with the Board of Selectmen as an associate member.
Can I just raise one concern about that strategy of telling all our friends? I would prefer not to alert the community to the fact that there is this glitch. Maybe like the day before or something, but
Good
I'm
point.
a
We had
little
talked
tiny
about
bit worried because I don't want to give anybody time to rally the troops.
Right. Good point. Excellent point. Right. And we had talked, Katie, you and I had talked about that as well. So thank you for that. So we'll get something out, and then maybe the Thursday or the Friday before
Yep.
town election. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jody. Yep.
I'm paranoid.
No, no, absolutely. Oh, what a winter. So that's what happened with the town election, and we'll take care of it. I think, yeah. And we'll make sure we'll try to get a process in place for town elections to make sure that this does not happen again.
So is there a recording of that meeting? I just don't understand how that happened. Katie, you and I were both there. I mean, we talked about you having a vote. I mean, I jokingly said it's time for Katie to have a vote. I don't understand how that happened.
So, Felicia usually has that old-fashioned paper easel.
Yeah, they had it.
And So the question is, what did she, I wasn't there, so I don't, where did she write down Katie's name? She may not have had all three positions.
Right, that might be it, because
think
I,
she
it was
didn't- I don't
literally
think
like
she-
2 minute, like literally 30 seconds before she called me up. Well, when we were still texting about this issue, Jasmine, Val, Katie and and I just distinctly remember Val for the 5, Katie for the 2.
Well, was Rick or anybody there doing it for cable TV? Normally I haven't checked Dover Sherburne Cable TV to see if it was done, but regardless, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter because the official town ballot
Has already been,
is already official
okay.
and cannot be changed. So we'll just have to deal with what we've got and do this workaround.
Yeah, this is it. It says, we were texting that night and it was, I said, the final, Val, Jasmine and I said, okay, thanks, I will go with that. Katie for 2-year and Val for 5. That's what we talked about at the meeting. Like, that's what I presented. Anyway.
Who knows? So anyway, it is what it is, and we will deal with it accordingly, and
Sorry,
hopefully,
Katie.
it will not, well, no,
It sounds like it was the writing on the paper that was the problem, because
Yeah, I
all
don't
of
think I
it was
looked at the
done
paper.
correctly, so something got, it's
Yeah.
all good.
I think we all forgot, including the town clerk, that Val's position had to be revoted at town election.
Right.
So I think that's probably what happened.
Okay.
So anyway, it is what it is,
It is
and
what it is.
we'll work around it, and it's an easy solution as long as there's not somebody out in the wings there.
Yeah.
So,
So we're gonna keep it under the lid.
keep it under the lid. Anything else by anybody? Okay, so so we've got the April 22nd info session. The March 25th, if people haven't seen it, there's a link on the web page for it. And I think it's very helpful for all of you to actually see the entire presentation. And all the questions that go with it, either live or in a recording. So please do that. Once town meeting is over, maybe people will be paying more attention to the MBTA, and we need to make sure that the messaging and the information provided is consistent. I'll keep you posted on the job applications, and other than that, that's all we've got. So we've got a site plan review of a greenhouse on April 28th. And now it looks like we may have this barn. I don't know what else it's not a barn. I don't know what to call it, but whatever. So if nothing else, I wish you a good night and adieu.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I always forget this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Make a motion to adjourn at 8:20. Everybody in favor, please say aye, or raise the hand and wave and say good night. There
Good
we go.
night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.